What's the good word, y'all? DKB here. So we had some exciting news that came out today. And it's interesting to me because it's really the first move that we've seen like this from Joe Douglas during his Jets tenure. CJ Mosley earned himself a huge payday. 14.88 million of his contract was converted to a signing bonus for himself. So what this did essentially, it freed up $12 million in cap space for us. We've been just under for a little bit of time now. We now have about 11.9 million in cap space. A lot of people, a lot of you guys, we've been mentioning that we still got moves we feel we need to make to secure this roster and some of this depth that may still be needed, and that this may be the sign that that's still the plan heading into the season. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the case. We know that injuries are going to strike. We don't know the severity or anything like that, obviously, but it would help to make sure that we have a significant enough amount of space, knowing how we've been hit before, so that we can pivot as much as need be in season when we need to bring a guy in that may not necessarily already be living on the practice squad. So what does this actually mean? Joe Douglas makes this the first move in a long time. One of the fallouts for this is that CJ Mosley's cap hit has now rose for 2 years, essentially. He's basically looking like he's locked into the roster for 2023. This was a questionable thing, and probably the biggest question mark a lot of people will have. Why are we paying CJ Mosley so much money to keep him? And to me, it makes a lot of sense on paper. Very young linebacker core. Not a lot of proven young talent behind them. We cut Nasruddin. He's back on the practice squad. We have Jamie and Sherwood essentially backing up all three spots as the primary go-to when there is, a little bit of breathing and some rest sets that are going to be needed for Quan, Quincy, and CJ. But we still have Nasruddin in the wings. Hopefully he continues to develop. We got rid of Delshon Phillips. So, moving into next year, what does that look like when Quan Alexander, who I'm assuming is going to ball out, earns himself a much bigger contract that we don't want to pay? When Quincy, I feel like this is kind of a make it or break it season for him. And a lot of people also feel strongly that if we don't keep Quincy, we may also lose out on Quinnen, which is a whole another ball game to get into. And I'm sure that, we'll pan that out during next offseason. But who are we really looking at in terms of players that are going to be sticking around for the next 3-4 years? And we need a presence like CJ Mosley specifically in that room. And he doesn't need to be top tier, top five, middle inside linebacker in the league. To have that would be great. But we're literally paying the price that we're paying right now for his production, which is going to be, I'm assuming, anywhere from average to above average at his position. Two, we need that leadership presence. What he does for the team in terms of morale, going in and doing all of the things the right way. We know that he's getting the job done for them. Is he, the same exceptional, undisputed top 10 talent that he was before? Probably not. Injuries have taken a toll, especially the type of injuries that he's had. And so, we're paying quite a bit for some of these intangible things, but it's going to help that natural progression of some of our younger talent a lot better. So having him essentially locked in for 2023, Joe Douglas has led us to the top of the league and having the lowest dead money cap hit. I don't see him suddenly cutting CJ next season after this move and ballooning us back near the top. So we have CJ, maybe we have Quincy, we have Jamie, and maybe Nasruddin proves his way onto the starting 53 next season. That's essentially what we're looking at. And kind of going back into how this impacts trades, I don't really see this being a situation where we absolutely have to go out and get somebody. Tackle is probably the biggest area of need that I potentially still see on this roster. We can still say safety, but given some of the comments and things that were made about that room, I'm kind of comfortable where we're at there, assuming no injuries take place. Tackle is the biggest question mark. I kind of have the same thoughts about safety as I do at tackle, because it seems like we're comfortable keeping Max Mitchell in maybe this swing tackle role. We've heard it multiple times now that he's much farther along in his progression than what we expected. We've seen it during preseason, though, that he's not necessarily ready for a starting role. Still a lot of issues in regards to power rushers. That can shut him down pretty instantly right off the snap. The speed guys, he seems a little bit more comfortable being able to hang with, but again, he still needs to get comfortable and get a lot more of these reps in, and he can get that as one of the main swing tackles playing against this defensive line that we're going to have all season. So I get the feeling that we're comfortable with him. We brought back Connor McDermott, and we have Herman's on the practice squad. So for whatever reason, I'm not the biggest Connor McDermott fan. He's around, we have it, but having Max Mitchell as the main swing guy, a young guy that seems like he's developing very quickly on the fly, might be the best thing for us this season, because potentially he could be paired up with maybe our tackle situation is a mess right now. I can't even really predict what it'll look like next season. Max Mitchell potentially at least as a healthy option, and then we have Mekhi Becton coming back. We'll see what happens with George Fant's contract situation, and then we know Dwayne Brown's essentially kind of locked in for next year too. So there's going to be a lot of things to consider, let alone whoever we may potentially think about adding in the draft. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you feel like it was a necessary move to not only get us under cap space, but to secure CJ for another year? Or do you think it was a foolish move? Let him play out his contract this season. There's other restructures we could have done to, open up a little bit of cap room. But looking forward to seeing what you guys think, and I will catch you again. Peace.